Welcome to this course introducing you to what it is to be a teaching artist. I'm delighted you've joined me and that you want to know more about the intriguing work of teaching artists. I'm Brad Haseman and I'm facilitating this first course and will be active in all of the 3 additional courses which make up this program. Those courses will be led by 3 international partners who are expert in the field of teaching artistry. These partners are the Sydney Opera House and the Queensland Performing Arts Centre in Australia and Lincoln Centre Education in New York. You know, people who work as teaching artists are dear to me. Originally, I trained as a drama teacher in Australia and England, and very early on I saw how schools could be enriched by having artists work directly with students, with teachers, and the school's curriculum. In turn, this interest grew, and then I became fascinated by the circumstances whereby artists could work in and across many sectors of the community, and through that work were able to enrich the lives of individuals and whole communities. So over time, and I've had time in this field, this has grown to be a passion of mine. Since 2008, I've been working as a teaching artist in Papua New Guinea, a dynamic and beautiful country just to the north of Australia. There, I've been working with local artists and medical staff to develop health education programs using theatre and performance to help prevent the spread of sexually transmitted diseases, HIV and AIDS. I was appointed to the Australia Council for the Arts a number of years ago, and I became closely involved with organisations and artists who worked in community cultural development, especially those working for social change and social justice in fields like health, education, environmental affairs, Indigenous wellbeing and the like. So, in this course, we'll be introducing you to what it is to be a teaching artist. We'll start by examining 4 teaching artist projects from around the world. And by studying them, we'll gain insights into a number of key questions. Where do ideas for a project come from? How and who, for example, might commission a project and teaching artists to lead it? Next, we'll look at the types of things teaching artists are asked on to do when they participate in a project. What skills do they need to work in the field? Of course, then there's, what are the audiences and participants? Who are they teaching artists work with? And finally, what venues, sites and locations do teaching artists find themselves in to do their work? Before we start digging into that, though, we need to give some clarity to this term, teaching artist. Fortunately, there is broad general agreement about the term teaching artist. It comes from an internationally recognised teaching artist, author and speaker, Eric Booth. Now, Booth offers this definition. A teaching artist is a practicing professional artist with the complementary skills and sensibilities of an educator who engages people in learning experiences in, through, and about the arts. Let's unpack that a little and consider what it means. His first point is teaching artists are practicing professional artists. Now, this starting point means that teaching artists need to know their art form or art forms. Many teaching artists have completed formal qualifications in the creative arts, while others have significant experience as a practicing artist. He then talks about the complementary skills and sensibilities of an educator. Well, this involves being curious and reflective, having an interest in how people learn, and also knowing the distinctive contribution each of the arts can make to learning. Learning experiences. He mentions that. We need to know about learning experiences. So this involves understanding how to structure arts activities for learning, how to engage individuals and groups, and design and sequence activities in the studio. And finally, in, through, and about the arts. Now, in the arts refers to creating arts experiences in which participants experience the distinctive mode of each art form, where the imagination, cognition, emotions, body, and memory are all engaged. Through the arts refers to using the power of the arts to experience concepts, learn skills, and gain understandings about other content areas. We can learn other content through the arts. And when he talks about learning about the arts, he's talking about learning the forms, materials, histories, and conventions of the arts themselves. So Booth's serviceable definition has been adopted and followed by many, but often, of course, as you'd expect, with variations and extra detail. In the resources identified for this session, there are a range of additional perspectives presented to flesh out this term, the teaching artist. It's useful to investigate this further. Actually, teaching artist originated in and is most popular in the US, but it's not a widely used word or term around the world. For instance, where I've done much of my work in Australia, we refer to community artists or community cultural development workers rather than teaching artists. In Europe and the UK, they tend to use the term socially engaged artists or those working in participatory settings. But look, all these terms refer to a coherent and established body of practice by artists who choose to use their creative skills collaborating with and alongside communities. That word community is one of the keys to capturing the essence of being a teaching artist. And you know, it's not a small and quirky group of artists who choose to work this way. 2 Australian colleagues have written extensively about what they call a turn to community. And they see it as a powerful impulse not only in community arts, but in contemporary art generally, in public art, design, and architecture. Here are the key areas they identify, which I'll share with you, not to even describe or discuss or argue the case for this species of activities listed here. But I want to indicate to you the forms of community practice which are emerging, and teaching artists can participate in all of these fields. And of course, in one sense, these terms are theoretical descriptors which actually are applied to practice after the practice has occurred. In our next session, I'll introduce you to the first of our teaching artist projects that we'll study in detail. Now, looking at this list, the project we're about to study could be described as embodying relational aesthetics, as networked culture, as placemaking, or even community ritual. But it's highly unlikely that the teaching artists were thinking in those terms when they embarked on this project in 2014. More of that in a bit.